When you're starting off with chickens, there are some things you need to consider, and I'm gonna give you the 5 rules of thumb when it comes to keeping chickens. First of all, you need to think about what species or what breed of chickens you want to keep. Are you gonna keep chickens just for the eggs? Then it's not really necessary to go for a purebred. You could also go for laying hybrids. Do you want to keep chickens for their meat? Then you can go for a meat bird. You also don't need to go for purebred heritage breeds. But if you do want to go for a purebred chicken, then you can also ask yourself the same questions. Do we want a laying breed? Then you could go for an Ancona or an Ancona bantam, like I have. Other good ones or popular laying breeds are Livorno bantams, commonly known as a leghorn. You also have Bracals, Arocanas, if you want green eggs, Marans, if you want brown eggs, and so on. If you want meat birds, you could go for like Cuckoo Mechelse, or maybe like a Jersey Giant and other birds. You can also compromise a little bit and go for a dual purpose breed. A good example of this is a Wino bantam. These also come in a variety of colors. And some of my favorite colors, like this one over here, chocolate mottled. And as you can see, I mainly keep bantams. That's because you can keep a lot more on the same area or the same amount of space you have. But there are also large fowls. For example, these are large Anconas, but their eggs aren't actually that much larger. Like the bird itself is like, about 3 times the size of a bantam, but the egg only weighs maybe 10, sometimes 20 grams more, so that's like a third, maybe half as more than those of a bantam. But a bantam is considerably smaller and thus also eats less. And you can keep more of them in the same area as you could with the large fowls. Of course, when you also want to keep them for meat, then it might be interesting to go for the large fowls instead of the bantams. The color you go for is of course determined by your own personal taste. I preferably like the mottled ones, and that's also the main reason why I like Anconas. The fact that they are also a very good laying bird is just a convenient plus. Blue mottled is also one of my favorite colors, and I'm also starting to like the chocolate mottled. But different breeds of chickens also have different personalities. Like in my case, I kind of have the feeling that the Ancona large fowls are less shy, or they are like more tame by nature than the bantams. A large fowl also has a lower pitched sound, as you could hear here, but he's still young, so it's a little bit high, his crow. But the bantams tend to have a higher pitched sound when they crow. That's something you also need to take into consideration. Some people like the crow of a large fowl, some people like the bantams. And then the neighbors usually don't like both. But there are breeds that don't crow so much. Like some fighting breeds, like those chibis. I kind of have the feeling that Anconas are relatively quiet too. The second point I want to talk about is the space, the amount of space you have available for your chickens. As you can see, I have quite a lot of space for my chickens. The complete pen is 21 by 12 meters. It's divided in two. The front half over here is for the chicks, but for now also my ducks, golden pheasants, and yeah, some chicks that aren't chicks anymore because it's already February. They are still running in here. And then we have the breeding pens, 7 of them. And usually there is one male with about 3 to 5 females. In my case, in the last breeding pen, I've also separated some roosters. When it comes to the materials of your chicken coop or your chicken pen, it's also a little bit personal taste, but I do prefer to use wood. First of all, because of the looks, it gives off a more natural look. Second of all, because it's more easy to work with. You don't need very strong tools to drill holes in it or to saw in it. As you can see, the electrical fencing is also very easily put into it. Just drill a little hole and then you can just screw them in with your bare hands even. And this is also something you need to think about. Am I gonna use electrical fencing or not? I'd say, now that I have it, I can't really live without it anymore. Because it's so convenient, you don't have to lock up your chickens at night anymore because they are safe now. At the top we have, or I have, 2 wires with electrical current, and the other one is the earth cable. So that's connected to the ground, so when something jumps up and when you touch both wires it gets shocked. And then there is one cable with electrical current on at the bottom. This is for predators that come from underneath. But as you can see, there are still predators, in this case a cat, that do dare to jump. Here it crossed over. I'm not quite sure if it got a shock. I don't think so, because it went further like this. One thing you do need to keep in mind with electrical fencing is that you need to make sure that it's clear of snow or any debris. So over here I might need to do some work to get the snow away, because this might give you like a loss in electrical current, and maybe that's why the cat didn't got a real shock, but I'm not quite sure. Cats are very agile, they might easily avoid it, but when it wants to try to bite through the wire, it will be very difficult to avoid touching the electrical wire and getting a shock. And when it wants to go on the top, it also will be very difficult to not get shocked. I've been using the system now for about half a year, and so far I didn't have any problems with predators. And there are a lot of them here. We have foxes, stone martens, owls, buzzards, wild dogs, and even the cats. And there are a lot of cats in here in my garden. When you have very small birds like these call ducks, bantam chickens, then you need to be careful. Then you also need to be careful with cats. You can see the closing mechanism. It's also very easily attached on wood. Even the doors are made out of wood. And some wire. I use a very fine wire. As you can see, I can't even put my finger through it. That's because I also want to keep birds out. Birds only carry diseases and transfer them to your chickens, so you want to keep them out as much as possible. And on top we have a net. It's one big piece. It's custom made for this chicken coop. Order it a little bit bigger than your chicken coop. That's a good tip that I can give you. Mine is, I believe, 22 or 23 meters long and 13 meters wide. So I bought 1 meter extra on both sides. So when you stretch it open, the tension on it is not too much. So you don't rip it apart. But this is a very strong net. You won't be able to rip it open, but predators will, so it's more to keep the chickens in and birds out. Then the chicken coop itself. Well, I have 7 different coops. The main reason why I have 7 different coops is that I've just started over and I didn't really have the budget to buy like 8-9 new coops. So what do I have over here? This is actually a dog house. But when you add a nesting box and some perches, you have a chicken coop. The opening of the door is very big, so it's a good coop for my large fowls. Next to it we have a chicken coop. We have nesting boxes on both sides. There are perches in the middle. The bottom floor can be slide open, so you don't have to open the coop, you can just slide the bottom out and throw away the manure. It also has some ventilation that can be closed. But as you can see, the quality isn't the greatest. The roof is broken. The 2 roofs of the nesting boxes are also leaking. They came loose. The door is completely rotten away, so this is a new door. The bottom part is also rusted away, only after 1 or 2 years. So not the greatest coop, however I do like the design and the looks of it. Oh yeah. And in the chicken coop or in the run itself, it's also good to place a perch, because as you can see they really like to sit on one where they can rest. Preferably put it into the sun, so on cold days like today they can have some warmth of the sun. An old gate like this one can also be used as a perch. This coop over here is not really a coop, but it's more just of a shelter or a shed where they can hide when it's too hot or when it's raining. I've also added a perch, and this is their permanent dry spot, except when it's raining very much or snowing like now. But usually the soil over here is dry and they can take their dust baths over here. So far, this is my favorite chicken coop. I'll leave a card to the video about it. This one's made out of plastic and metal. You can just, it comes to you in about 4 or 5 boxes. And it's very easily to put together. It's very well insulated, as you can see. The snow isn't really melting on this one. It's very easy and very fast to clean. It doesn't have perches. The chickens just sleep on the grid. But they don't seem to mind. They never sleep outside or on the roof. So I think they like it in here. It's also a very durable coop. When you buy something like this, you probably never have to buy another again. But it's quite expensive, so that's the reason why I don't have 8 of them or 7. If I had all the money in the world, I probably would have 7. This is a second-handed coop. I bought it for like 50 euros. The roof, yeah, it's already has been replaced, and the replacement roof isn't the greatest as well, but okay. Here is one nesting box. There are also 2 perches. For 50 euros it's not a bad coop. And the materials, or the wood, is actually not that bad either. So if you would add a better roof, then it would be quite a good coop. What I don't like about this one is the nesting box. As you can see, it's also like a grid. It's not completely covered or closed. So when you put nesting materials in here, after a while it just slips through and falls on the ground. And they have this bare nesting box. So that's not the greatest. A solid planche or something, or a solid plate would have been a better option over here. This coop over here, also second-handed. I also bought it for like 50 euros, which is not much. I believe the new price is 165, I believe. The wood of the sides and the bottom is very good. It will last for, let's say, 15, maybe even 20 years. But the roofs aren't the greatest. They last only a couple of years, and then you will have to replace them, just like I did with this coop. This is one of my first chicken coops. And in this coop you can see I've also drilled some holes for more ventilation. Apart from that, it's quite a good coop. It's not really the easiest to clean because there are a lot of corners inside. This coop I got from a friend of mine. It has 2 levels, so there is like one level over here. It's about this size. There is a perch over there. I've also put a perch over here. The nesting box is at the back, but they do prefer to lay their eggs on the top floor. I don't know why, but yeah, it's just that way. I got this for free. It was also homemade or self-made. And here we have my custom-made chick coop. So this one is for the chicks. Of course now it's for all the adult birds of last year. It has 2 big doors on the back. It's made out of, in Belgium we call it betonplex. I don't really know the name in English, but this is how the wood looks like. And it's just it are just even plates, so it's very easy to clean. On top we have a high pressure laminate plate, or a trespa plate. It also has an automatic door. Here is a sensor, the control panel, and here is the door. It's on manual mode now, but I can also put it, but usually I put it on light modus, so it closes when it gets dark. And as you can see, this coop is quite a big one. I believe it's, I think it's more than 2 meters long, and maybe like 1.5 meters wide or deep. Some big ventilation strokes on both sides. Let me open it. There's a nesting box, but there's one chicken that prefers to sleep on it, so it's also always dirty. Too bad, because you see they do use it. And here we have the purchase. It's built in like some sort of a stairway. And another nesting box, just a simple wine barrel, or how do you say it, wine chest. And it's quite spacious, which is sometimes like a downside, because the chickens also just like to hang out here during the daytime. And this might disrupt the chickens that want to lay an egg. But yeah, okay. It's quite a good coop. It's easy to clean. Very simple, but effective. When it comes to feeding your chickens, this is one of my preferred feeding trays. This one's made completely out of plastic, and when you're not careful, like I am sometimes, and you're trying to empty it because there's water or snow or dirt in it, and it's freezing, then you might break it. So I'm not always the biggest fan of the completely plastic ones. So my favorite is over here. I also have the feeling these are the sturdiest ones. It's like the plastic is like a little bit stronger, and it has metal bars instead of plastic bars on top of it. Very easy to clean, easy to fill, simple design, good design. And I also like the looks. It's green and black, but might be a little bit hard to see because it's a little bit dirty. But this is my preferred way to feed your chickens. In terms of the drinkers, I have quite a lot of different drinkers. Most people might know this design, but I actually prefer these ones. They are very easy to clean and to fill. You can just open the top completely, like this. Or you can open it over here, but it might be frozen. Yeah, it's frozen. But as you can see, on the other side over here there is a hole. You can just turn it, open it, and pour water in it. And here they can drink. But yeah, when it's freezing like this, might not be the most convenient setup, so I always give them fresh water. I don't use heaters because then we would have a lot of cables over here. We would need like 8 cables, 8 heaters. It wouldn't look that good, and so on. And of course, for the feed I use the show gamma of Versillalaha. As you can see, I use the show 1, the crumble, for the chicks. Then I use the show 2 for the bigger chicks. Show 3 is now during the winter time. However, now I'm slowly getting into the breeding season. But usually show 3 is for the maintenance period, so like autumn and winter. And then I switch over to show 4, and that's the breed pellet. So this contains a lot of vitamins and minerals to give you like a good hatching egg. And that's basically it. Also provide some extra grit for the as a calcium source, and some vegetables, something where they can get fibers out of, like grass, clovers, lucerne. I don't know how it's called in English. And that's all you need for your chickens. So those were the 5 rules of them, I believe. The breed of chicken, the coop, the chicken run, the chicken coop, feed and water. Oh yeah, for water I just use tap water. So I've got a tap over here, very close to the chicken coop. And I also made a little cover for the electrical devices, for some Wi-Fi over here. And here is the fence energizer. So that was it for today. Thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. More content is coming up. Give the video a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. In het zakboek voor de kippenhouder vertel ik je alles wat je moet weten over het houden van kippen.